Hello everyone and welcome. My name is Simon and we are the Whales of Wall Street. So today I'm going to be going through a crypto asset called CAPP, C-A-P-P, which actually relates to a company called Cappasity. And they're heavily involved in AI, VR and AR as well. So I think there's a lot of movement to come for this company, especially with what they do. So without further ado, let's go straight into Cappasity and what they do, why I'm invested, and perhaps something that you guys might be interested in too. So Cappasity are very heavily involved in terms of 3D modeling of products, which you can use in a virtual reality situation or an augmented reality. So this is something that's obviously growing as we progress technology wise, and the way that consumer behavior is going as well. So Cappasity predominantly brings a product to life in an online format, as well as through your smartphone in any kind of environment that you're in actually. To put that into context, it could be things like furniture, where you're placing perhaps a sofa to see how it looks like in your room, by downloading the product image or AR format and putting that into the room to see what it looks like and make a purchasing decision without seeing the product physically. This is the kind of world that we're moving into in terms of how a customer purchases and sees a product in their environment. But that doesn't just stop there. It can work with things like watches, with cars in terms of the car showroom, or being able to see a car in a 3D model format before you go and see it or before you go and test drive. And predominantly as well in fashion, which I think is probably one of its key areas. And it's quite ironic actually, because maybe 5-6 years ago I delved into a few articles that I wrote myself around the ability for the near future where we would perhaps replace the way the method of fashion purchasing occurs. A customer would be able to go into a store, try an outfit on in front of a digital mirror, for example, flick through various outfits and pick something that they like the look of, and that perhaps then transpires to a product being sent out to them for next day delivery if they're not in stock, or perhaps something that's in stock and they can simply very quickly get the product purchased, take it home as you would normally. But I do think there's also some other positives around that in terms of potential logistic cost reduction, overhead reduction in stores and things like this as well. So there's lots of out of the box things that can be brought into contention when looking at this technology and this opportunity. As I've mentioned, the ability to take a product using the AI technology on a smartphone, things like a watch, as you can see on the screen here, seeing what that looks like on your arm. I know it's not sort of replacing that feeling that you get when you try something on, but I think consumer behaviors are changing a lot in terms of the time consumption. People have less time, stores, etc., are trying to reduce their overheads and things like this. So this sort of technology and idea is actually quite clever, and we do have reasonably good logistics in the UK now as well, in terms of next day deliveries, quick and easy returns to local depots or local stores if needed. One of the other key aspects I liked personally from the business side of things is when you're doing a lot of product research and development, you want to know how a customer is interacting with that product, what they do and don't like about it. I'm really interested in this side of it in terms of the analysis perspective of being able to see where a customer zooms in the most, knowing which part of the detail that the customer is interested in the most as well from that product. So it's really good from the development and research perspective on the business side, as well as delivering a technology and an experience for customers as well. Here's what I touched up on earlier in regards to potentially standing in front of a mirror, seeing what a piece of item of clothing looks like on you before you've physically tried it. So we're obviously moving into a more hygienic world as well, because of what's happened. As you know, basically means that you reduce the need for things like fitting rooms as well. So less time spent on shopping assistants putting clothes backwards and forwards, in and out of hooks, etc. And just making things a bit easier across the board for both the consumer and the business. I think that it's just something that's going to continue to take off, and more online retailers will be using this, as well as the in-store infrastructure of things like digital displays, where customers can see things there and then. So that's kind of like a quick overview of Cappasity, and that's kind of why I'm mainly interested in it. I have used this kind of technology, as I've mentioned, in various aspects of the retail environment already, but haven't sort of seen this kind of feel in terms of the fashion side of it being in real play yet. But if you look into the future, I think this can be used a lot more, maybe not even having to go into the store and actually standing in front of a shop window, being able to do this sort of thing naturally already, so you don't even need to maybe even go physically into the store. So there's loads of aspects to this this side of thing that I think is really interesting. So I'd really like to know what you guys think of Cappasity once you've done a bit of research yourself. Please do drop a comment in the box below. I'd be really interested to see what your thoughts are on this and where you see this kind of technology going. Don't get me wrong, there isn't just Cappasity, there's plenty of other companies like that out there, but I do believe they've got some fantastic partnerships. The technology backing is there with the likes of Nvidia to help sort of progress the processing side. And it's important as well just to have a quick overview of the technical analysis in regards to where we are in the market with CAPP. At the moment it's a pairing with BTC, so just bear that in mind when you're looking for it on exchanges. I'm not going to go into too much detail because there's a lot of other sites that do that in terms of YouTube channels, but I'm more interested in the cost at the moment, which is just under ½ cent, so we're sort of sitting at that 0.005. And then historically it has actually been higher than that. I do think there's room for movement, especially in this run. We've seen that it's actually been relatively high in terms of its history and where it is now. And I do believe that this is a future one, personally. You might get some gains out of it this year, that's to be seen. But for me, I'm an investor in the long term, and I think that this kind of technology is something that's just going to keep growing as we go along into the different world that we progress in, and the way that people buy things and their just typical behavior of purchasing, and the way that businesses want to be moving towards as well. So that's pretty much the overview of Cappasity. I hope that you've enjoyed this video. Apologies, it is our first one, so hopefully you enjoyed it, and we'll expect to do more of this kind of thing moving forwards as well. That just leaves me, guys, to say that thank you for dropping in to see this video. Like and subscribe this channel, it really helps us grow, and hopefully we'll see you on the moon. Thanks, guys.